Good evening. I'm Hilary Semel, the Executive Director of the Eastern Environmental Law Center. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Center and the Coalition for Healthy Ports. The Eastern Environmental Law Center is a public interest environmental law firm located here in Newark. And the coalition, as you heard, is a coalition of community and environmental organizations that seek to create sustainable ports and mitigate environmental and health impacts from goods movement in the New York, New Jersey area. We are extremely concerned with the significant adverse direct, indirect, and cumulative impacts that the project will have on the already heavily burdened communities surrounding the Port of Newark and the Elizabeth Marine Terminal and the Bayonne Bridge. We have the following comments on the draft deed environmental assessment. Given the significance of the impacts and the failure to take a hard look at those impacts, the Coast Guard must prepare an environmental impact statement. The DEA fails to adequately measure the operational or construction risks associated with the known presence of hazardous and contaminated materials on and around the bridge. The Coast Guard inappropriately relies on investigative methods more commonly used in business or real estate transactions. Further reducing the utility and accuracy of the investigation, the Port Authority instructed its consultants to limit the scope of work. Port Authority instructed its consultant not to contact officials of the federal, state, city, and local regulatory agencies or anyone else unless they are employed by the Port Authority. The consultant did not have access to all the Port Authority-owned property under or near the bridge. The consultant revealed the Port Authority was unable to provide fundamental information about the property to satisfy the most basic requirements of the investigation. The Coast Guard and the public are not allowed to rely on the hazardous materials and contamination investigation. Only the Port Authority may rely on the investigation to avoid liability. And finally, the consultant spent only 4 days at the site. They did not test any soil or water, even if they knew that there were impacts or potential impacts from hazardous substances, including PCBs and the lead that was mentioned. The DEA states that the details about the construction risk due to hazardous materials and contamination will be investigated and taken care of after the project is approved, even though the entire area around the bridge has the potential to be contaminated. The DEA also states that the measures to protect the public, workers, and the environment will be decided later, and then they will consult with the appropriate regulatory officials. The DEA also fails to accurately measure the future changes in truck traffic due to the raising of the bridge, and more importantly, future truck traffic if the bridge is not raised. In other words, establishing a baseline. As a result, the DEA fails to accurately measure the significant health and safety impacts on minority and economically disadvantaged communities in Newark and in the North Shore area of Staten Island. Therefore, the Coast Guard must do a full EIS.
Thank you.